Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Set Your Yo, a.k.a. Coach Bird, and I'm the host of the BYRDCAGE show. Cousin Tracy?
What's up?
As we say often, you know what I'm saying, today is Saturday. We know it airs on Monday. How's your weekend going so far?
Tiring, per usual. You know, it don't stop for me. Like, I'm driving to an appointment, answering an email, setting appointments. And every year I say I'm gonna get an intern or I'm gonna get somebody, because I be forgetting I'm getting old, and I'm starting this new coffee, right? It's called Rise Superfood. It's mushroom coffee. Okay. It's plant-based. Okay. And it's supposed to help you with your gut inflammation, your focus, your immune system. So I'm only a week in. So I'm hopefully my focus, because you know, and I say this all the time. Y'all may think I'm younger than I am, but this age thing and getting old, my memory ain't all it used to be. Whew.
That's what's up. Well, hey, we were talking a little bit before we started this, and we got another special.
I'm very honored.
Special, you know what I'm saying? Guest sitting on the couch in the cage today, you know what I'm saying? Some of you watching definitely know him, and those that don't know him, you're going to get to know him, you know what I'm saying? You know, I remember just real quick, I think 86, you know what I'm saying? Star point guard on the undefeated, #1 in the nation, the USA Today, you know what I'm saying? Basketball team at Camden High. And the reason why I remember is because, you know, my classmates, Vic was on that team, Denny Brown was on that team, you know what I'm saying? I think Reggie Lawrence was on that team. Yes, right. Was Glenn on that team, Glenn Jackson?
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. That's, got it. Right. So, you know, I go back, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking up to this guy, you know what I'm saying? So like Cousin said, it's definitely an honor and a privilege. Also, fast forward a couple years, 2011 and 12, my first year being Camden High's head coach, son Kadir played for me and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And one of his moments that I remember, like it was yesterday, the sectional semifinal game, we're playing Wilson, back and forth game. I think it was late in the game. We were down. Your son got in the game, banged a big three, and we went on to win the game and went on to win the sectional in the next game and all that. So you know, I know this guy pretty good. Sure. You know what I'm saying? For those that don't know who's sitting on the couch right now, we have my good friend, the brother minister Wasim Muhammad is in the building, and we thank you. You know what I'm saying? You just say what's up to the people real quick.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All praises due to Allah for the kind words from you and Tracy, and just want the audience to know that I'm here. And I'm glad to be here without a shadow of a doubt. It's been a long time been watching from a distance. So y'all show grow, and it's been growing. And I'm just honored to be here, to be among people that, you know, you talked about high school. And we go back to Centerville football days.
How about that? Yeah. You're right. Yeah, that's right. You played for my dad and everybody. You're right. So he was out there running around. Yeah, that's true.
So it goes back, and the Hall legacy in Camden is a great legacy, and then everything is intertwined. So I am honored to be here among, you know, legends alone, and that y'all keeping it in Camden. A lot of legends.
Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. So hey, let's start there. Let's talk about where it all began. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, you know, my family is originally, you know, my mother's born and raised in Glassboro. Okay. She was born and raised in Glassboro, New Jersey, and graduated from Glassboro High School. And her and my father got married, and they moved to Camden in I believe it was the early 50s. And there, my father's from Georgia, so I'm not related to a lot of Walker family. Okay. It's my former name, Donnie Walker, people know me as. And they got married and moved to Camden, and my father was also in the military. And in the Korean War, so it was 10 years before they had children. So they raised my youngest parents, my mother's youngest siblings. Okay. My Aunt Mecca, Islam, and my Uncle Woody Woodrow. Y'all probably know his father, Herky, and all them from downtown. Yeah, that crew in there. That's their father. My parents practically, because they got kicked out of Glassboro High School, so they had to move to Camden with their big sis, because my mother was the oldest of the family. So, born and raised in Camden, and you know, before people knew me in Camden, they knew me as a little rookie, because my brother was Rookie.
Okay.
Who played for the 1978 Camden High basketball championship team with Dennis Still, Billy Coberson, and all those greats. Henry Hall,
Henry Hall.
you know, Henry Hall graduated in 77.
Yeah,
but in 78, my brother was on that team. But he was known as Rookie. And everyone in Camden at that time knew me as Little Rookie. And it wasn't until the 80s I had an opportunity to make a name for myself that I wasn't Little Rookie. So, and I was glad and proud to do that. My brother was definitely my hero coming up. My parents, I was fortunate enough to have both my parents and my home grown up in the Parkside section of Camden, and, you know, attending Parkside Elementary School, Hatch Middle School, and of course being at Camden High School and playing alongside some greats through the years, the Kevin Walls and Mike Gilchrest's and all of those great people, like Octavius Young, Kenny, it's a host of people, but most importantly, Mayor Karstoff, and watching him come in young with young leadership skills, and you know, it's not funny to see what he's doing now, and of course the great Lou Banks of '86 that we owe so much to, because he was a dynamic player that we owe so much to, that helped us with the platform that many of us are moving off now. But before I return the mic back to you, I just want to let you know that your father is my childhood hero in so many ways of community service, a businessman, an athlete, everything that we all trying to be, you know, and continue to have the opportunity and space to do is what we owe to him. And I had great conversations over the years, not only the, you know, the arguments between him and Brother Demary over at Centerville, making us and shaping us and molding us along with Coach Pat and all those kind of things, but just, you know, the conversations of what to do and how to give back to Camden and Camden County and to serve is just amazing. So I'm honored to be here with great families, and you know, the Hall. We'll get to the Hall family in a minute. You know.
Well, listen, I'm a bird too. So and he does it. You know, he does it so humbly. Like he does all the things.
Talking about that.
Big Bird does all the things, and he's just so humble with it, right? So quiet. He always does it in stealth mode.
right. Like he'll do things, and when people find out that he was behind it, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know the original Coach Bird had something to do with that." You know what I'm saying?
You know, the big thing for us was when we started this, when he gave us the nod. When he said,
yes,
and we were like, it's like, oh, he watches here.
Yes, they tune in every Monday. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't catch it on Monday, they definitely make sure they catch it on my dad. So yeah, when he gave his blessings, me and Cuz felt pretty good. Like, all right, well, he must be doing something, because if he didn't like it or he thought he'd be like,
and
nah.
I call that the old Camden spirit. You know, that spirit that we grew up in Camden that somehow got lost through the years. You know, for many, many reasons, and you all know those reasons, but we hear about solutions and moving forward and impacting and telling the story, telling the history, and seeing how we can move forward. But that spirit of Camden is starting to come back again. You know, you see it, you know, being a spiritual man, of course, the minister, I kind of look at things and try to look at things from a spiritual aspect to see the good in things, and, you know, pay attention to the negatives there, but, you know, settle on the best part so that we can take that part and move forward.
Real quick, where'd you go to college at?
University of New Mexico, but I had to stop and make a stint for a moment in Arizona, because the University of Arizona was recruit me, and they sent me to a school there. And coming out, it was the first year that they had Prop 48. And, you know, I can't get into that story of things that I have to just tell you, I'm the poster child for it. In the city of Camden, you know, moving forward. But nevertheless, I ended my career at University of New Mexico, and I was very proud to be what they call a Lobo. It was a great place to play college basketball at the Pit. It was an experience that I'll never forget, that helped us prepare and mold me to who I am today. And I was married, you know, to my high school sweetheart, Sister Stephanie Muhammad at the time, with our first child, and it was a great experience. And you know, being there was an eye opener for me. And I always tell people, I had a shotgun wedding, you know, but it wasn't her father. It was my father.
He wanted you to do the right thing.
He got no babies and keep moving on, man. I can hear that conversation now, and it has some great support of people that, helped mold and shape me. I cannot speak about my childhood, not, of course, speak about the McGeady family. Mr. Tom McGeady there lived behind me, and everybody know me and Brother Nareen was like brothers. People didn't know we weren't really brothers, and, their family, and I owe so much. And it was just that village and neighborhoods that kept us all together. It's intertwined. The McGeady family and the Council, the Demary and all them are intertwined in there. And that was the Camden. And you got some of that impact. You had no excuse except to be successful.
True.
And that was what it was all about.
True.
I had real quick. I had a conversation, and this is no disrespect to anybody. I had a conversation the other day about teachers, right? And they said, "Can you name a teacher that impacted your life?" And I told them I can't name one teacher that did, because the impact on my life came from the people that were around me. My father, who was one of the first black assistant managers for Bell Telephone, which is now Verizon, in South Jersey. Uncle Lenny, Uncle Plato, who was an athlete, played overseas, came back. Those are the people for me. Arnold Byrd. I watched him build his house brick by brick with a bunch of other men from the community. Those were the ones that impacted my life. First and foremost, I went to Catholic school. So everybody's name was Sister something. So ain't none of them impact nothing.
Correct.
My impact for me came from the men, and I was a daddy's girl. So my impact came from majority of the men and how they treated young women and the women in their lives. That impacted my life. You know what I mean? Just to have the respect and the admiration, and even when I became an officer of my father and Uncle Lenny and the men in my family, that impacted me. It wasn't a teacher. It was the people from my community and from my family that did the work. That laid the bricks, that laid the foundation for me to be TRACEY. And it was crazy because everybody looked at me, but when I broke it down for them, and I said, it's no disrespect to the educational field, because I do believe teachers make an impact. But on my life, because I went to Catholic school, that impact was different.
Right, makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And it's funny that you said that. I remember when my dad was building the house, and me, Sandiata, Lil Pat, we be on the scaffolding and all that, jumping off of that and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? They chasing us out of there, like, oh, y'all gonna get hurt, get out of here. Yeah. So
and that impact there that you all said, and shout out to the late great Lenny Hall, who was just everybody's mentor in the city of Camden, because you talking about second chances. You talking about the second chance he gave us. Period.
He was everybody's uncle. It started confusing me because I'm like, I know my dad. Wait, I hope we don't have extra kids in our family. Then you got people want to argue down how that he's really their uncle. I'm like,
Yeah. And you talk, Coach Bird, about the building of that house. That was that impact to all of us, and the first seed in all of our minds that you didn't have at the time, that while most people who were being successful, the idea was to get out of Camden.
Right.
And to see, your father build right there in Camden at a time when Camden was beginning to grow, coming out of that, that impact of the Dr. Martin Luther King riots in the 60s that pulled a lot of industry and a lot of divisiveness in Camden County and South Jersey. That impact, that, you can build up your right here in your community. And that meant everything. And it didn't go unseen. And it's those little things, little nuances right there that helps to impact all of us about staying in your community, making it better. A good place to live.
And he ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere.
Still got the hardwood floors.
And that neighborhood was a beautiful neighborhood. Growing up and down there, you walk in there. I never knew that was Liberty Park. We said, man, that's Centerville. Liberty Park. Listen, and Mr. Novella, his always said, no, that's Liberty Park.
Listen, so we lived on the 900 block of Morton. We lived on 900 block of Morton.
Got you.
Mr. Oscar Milbourne, Mr. Milbourne's father, Mr. Milbourne was a police officer as well. They lived on that block. They lived on Thurman. I don't know too many people live on Everett, but then Miss Novella and them lived on the next one over.
Yeah.
I always told my friends I lived in Centerville, and the kids from the Centerville, the PJ said, "No, Tracy, you live in a house. That don't count." And I'm like, "No, I'm from Centerville." Like when I went to the Centerville reunion, everybody be like, "Yo, she's not from St. John." Will said, "Yo, she is." Like she lived on like we really used to. They was like, "No, she lived in a house." Like what? So now it's Liberty Park.
You mentioned my cousin John. Bro, I got to give a shout out to you guys from class of '88. I think you are one of the most dedicated classes, not only then, but even still today, man. That spirit, I come from the class of '86. We like to think that, everybody likes to think that class. But you guys, that class of '88 is real impactful. And the way you all stay close and where y'all were close then now, it's it's remarkable. It's worth mentioning.
I don't know. Class of '89 running a tight race. Because listen, we on it. We on 89 be on it. You don't see an 88er without an 89. Listen.
I love it. I
knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
coming.
You know what I'm saying? I knew it was coming. It's funny because it's like, we trying to plan for our next reunion or whatever. It's like, for what? We have a reunion every day. We see each other all
let you know, class 88.
You know what I'm saying?
You say the great 88.
The great 88.
Yeah.
The great 88.
You had a wide range and spectrum of individuals, different characters of people.
Nah, definitely.
That was, it's great people, some great times, a great city.
So let's talk about after the playing career was over, you know what I'm saying? What was the next move?
Well, at that time, being, as I stated earlier, I was married. So, I was running my family all over. And, there was opportunities, there was a rise. And, basketball it is today with all the opportunities that it had. But I had pride myself, being a recipient of a hiccup of Prop 48. I prided myself of graduating in 4 years. That was my determination. Because I was always a good student, but I wasn't focused. At that time, coming out of high school, I wasn't that focused, and being married and playing major college basketball. That focus, it's, when you go there, everybody was that person in that city. And you playing with guys that 6'9", 6'10", 7-footers, and people. Playing against Tim Hardaway was the guard in that conference. And it was like, it was a wake-up message that, you better pay attention to the professor. Just a little bit more, you know what I mean?
Stuff done got real.
You know what I mean, Tracy? And so I prided myself in having my family there was, that matured me early and gave me some of the motivation, at least get this out the way. And my father and the group of men that raised me, that the goal was, look, you already ahead of the game. You're getting an opportunity for a free education. Dude, don't come back here without one.
Gotcha.
Your father and all those guys. The goal is, we don't care about that other stuff.
That's the extra.
That's just the extra stuff. And as I always tell young people, is that degree, and it of course is trades and so many things, the spaces to be successful in. But we always tell young people, it's better to have it and not need it.
They need it and not have it.
That's
true.
all.
Very true.
And they were telling me that then.
Very true. Very true. So what did you get into?
I became an educator. I was already taught, and there in the Hatch Middle School, they were recruiting black teachers at the time, black male teachers. Right. And of course, my degree was in business administration. So, they had a push at that time, at beginning of the crack epidemic that hit urban centers all around the country. They were looking for black male role models, and they had a pathway for us to get teaching certificates, the alternative route.
I did that too.
The alternative route. So I got into teaching there, thanks to Dr. Webster at the time and others who created that space for us to do that. And I got into teaching and that impact, and you all know, and working as public servants, Tracy, and as a police officer, And as a teacher, Coach Bird, and you all coaching the impact that you all are making, when you start making an impact with young people, man, that thing gets you, and you just you just wonder how it stays there,
right? And
it becomes that force in the community where you can help and give back. It's not about the money. It's not about the riches you can make. It's about the impact that you're making on others in their life. That what family brought for us, being stability brought to us, but didn't necessarily have that for others, and just that feeling of giving back. And I taught for 9 years in the Camden City public school system, and as during that time we reopened the mosque and temple here in Camden under the tutelage of my minister that trained me, Brother Rob. Many of you know Brother Rob.
Brother Rob was my boy.
On Mount Ethan Avenue, great brother and a great influencer and a great trainer of men he was to all of us in the community. But we started rebuilding the work of the Nation of Islam in Camden that hadn't been rebuilt yet since the fall of 1975. And so I started doing that and impacted and got into business into what my degree was really in. Right. And it was funny. I had to choose between that and being an educator because that impact was so, the impact you have on young people. And I was coaching at the time too as well. Okay. A lot of people don't know I was Coach Clarence Turner's second former player that coached against him. This first was a gentleman in Connecticut who coached at Wilbur Cross. He's a Camden High. He was a Camden High graduate at the time. They were nationally ranked, and they came in and played Camden High in the 70s and early 80s. And because I was the ball boy, my brother and them played through the 70s and known as Little Rook. That's why a lot of people knew me as Little Rook from my brother's impact, but I knew a lot of people in that age group from the 70s because I was the little guy that used to lead the basketball team out around the thing every day, coming out of the locker room. That 70s impact, being the youngest of 5 children. Most of the people that I know I grew up around were older than me, from the 70s and early 80s, and those guys. So I was coaching at Gloucester Township Tech, now Sicklerville Vokey, in basketball. And,
I didn't know that.
I coached there. I played against Coach Turner. And some of my former players at Hatch, I told him to take it easy because I was in a rebuilding year. At the time I could recruit. Because I was the county, school. There was no things about recruiting, and I was trying. I just left a thing with the great young Arthur O.G. Barkley. And he was just saying that we had a chat and chew, and he was just saying how when I was recruiting him, he was coming out of Morgan Village. I was trying to get him there. I said, "I'm so glad you didn't listen to me." Then he went on, had a great career at Canada High and at Memphis. The story goes, but so it came to a point where, in following the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of, making an impact the way the Nation of Islam do, of doing for self and modeling that behavior in the community, that we can do it right there. And if you start doing it yourself, others will come and see the impact that you're making and help you, but have that foundation with doing for self. And at the time, Brother Rob and I and all others were working hard, so I had to choose between the business and being an educator, so I had to go with that route. So y'all remember that Mount Ethan Avenue strip that we had years ago.
So when did you convert to Islam?
My family was I was always Muslim. My father, yes, my family, my father, in fact, actually my aunt was the first to join in '64 that my parents raised, and I was close. She was my godmother, Mecca Islam. Y'all probably know my cousin Mia and all of them that y'all went to school in. Abdullah.
I did. Yes.
That's my family. That's my first. That's my cousins, and their mother was my mother's sister, and that's why people know the name Was, which was short for Wasim. That was always my name. I just never had legally changed it until recently. But Islam was always impactful in my family, among my parents, and Islam is what impacted me at a very early age, and I've always been Muslim. So I'm doing what I know I should be doing. What I was taught and trained to do.
That's definitely what's up. Let's talk about the temple a little bit. Number
Yes.
20, I believe it is.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yeah, right. When was that established? Like, how far back?
Wow,
does that
Temple
go?
20, the number 20 comes from Camden was the 20th city
Okay.
that established a temple in the history of the Nation of Islam that started in 1930.
Okay.
Of course, Philadelphia was number 12.
Okay.
New York was number 7.
Okay.
But number 1 is Detroit, where the Nation of Islam started at. Number 2 is Chicago,
Okay.
where headquarters is at now, and the places that's the number. So it was established in the early 50s. Of course, you know the Camden foundation of the Nation was Brother James X. Many of them know as headquarters, Brother X. You know their history. I have a brother who's with us now, Brother Terrell X, who go by Brother Abu Bakar, who was there in 57 when Brother X came in
Okay.
as a young man at 16 years old.
Okay.
He's still with us now, and it was the early 50s and when Camden established this charter. And of course, you know, in 1975 at the departure of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam went into a different direction and the structure of the Nation of Islam fell. So Camden had never rebuilt it back again until the mid-90s under
Okay.
Brother Rob, when we finally got our charter back, then under the national organization. And since then, and then, you know, and then in 2000, you know, there were some issues with the national organization with Camden, and unfortunately we closed the mosque down out of quiet protest, and you know, others came. But however, in 2008 we reestablished there on Haddon Avenue, Temple number 20, again here in Camden, where I've been at the helm working so proudly with a host of great people and individuals that's encouraging me there on Haddon Avenue.
How long have you been the minister?
For 15 years. We're going to 15
Okay,
years
okay,
now.
okay,
I would never have thought I would be in the ministry. I don't know how that happened, you know, where it happened and where it came from, but I would have never thought that. But, you know, as you look and study your journey as a young man coming up, you know, I was always a person that was into the details and helping people, you know, and so that's how Mayor Karstoffen and Denny Brown, your fellow, 88,
Great 88,
all became so close.
The great 88, the great 88,
all became so very close, man. Those young guys, they came over Camden High School and they were into details, man, and music. And I thought, these guys, young guys, what are they doing? They was into the same details and things that I read, and that's why we bonded, became so close. And but you know, as you look back at your journey and see how the Creator was molding you and I, all of us, to do what we're doing now, things we're doing as we go back and study our story, and that, you know, just into details, helping people, not really wanting all the attention. Some of the things we talked about with your father, just doing the work and getting it done. But if somebody look at the book of things that you have done and look at our book and in the impacts that we made, it's there. And we have a saying that we say in Islam all the time. In Arabic, we say Alhamdulillah, or all praise is due to Allah. And that's why we say it. Because all the good we do belongs to God and belongs to the universe. But all the wrong we do belongs to ourselves. We got to carry that ourselves. But we have to carry that because no one is perfect. But nevertheless, you know, and that spirit of the ministry, that the praise goes to Him. All we want to do is impact and serve. And I would like to consider myself striving to be a servant leader.
Got you. Well, I'll say you're doing a great job.
You
know, I'll say definitely doing a great job. Is the school still up and running?
Yep. Yes. Okay. That's the second thing that we should do after establishing a mosque or temple, is establish a school. The University of Islam on the charter of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that's the next thing we should do, is to be able to, impact, that education for you all know that impact that it do on that. And because a lot of our goals and ambitions, we are not going to be able to do them in our lifetime, but you got to train others. You got to always look for, as they like to say, for, backup. Replacements. You got to always look for replacements, and that's where it's at. And that's why I'm so very humbled to be an educator and be in education, and to be on the school board as well, because that's always been my passion. Is education, because I know what education, how it has impacted me, and the ability to know things, what it can do. That's the difference between being successful and not being successful, is what others know and what you and I may not know.
Gotcha. Well, that leads us right into the next question. I think you kind of answered the first part, you know what I'm saying? I was going to say, what sparked your interest? You know what I'm saying? In the Camden City School Board. For those that don't know, he's currently the president of the Camden City School Board. When were you elected? When did you first get elected to the school board itself?
Well, I was not elected. Okay. I was appointed.
Okay.
My first stint and there was appointed by former Mayor Dana Red, another Camden special woman who's doing great work and continue to do great work in our city and impacting Camden, South Jersey, and the Delaware Valley. I was appointed.
Okay.
I can't remember what year it was. I think I've been on the board about 10, 11 years now.
Okay.
I was appointed. And then, of course, it was a surge, which was rightfully so, to elect the board. And then we started being elected. And I was elected 3 years ago.
Okay.
After being on the board for like 6 years.
Okay.
And it's great, the education. And, was asked to serve and to come up out of the walls of our church, mosque, temple settings and be able to serve the larger community, because I can't just be interested in what goes on at the University of Islam number 20 in Camden and have my head down. It's like dribbling the ball with your head down, okay? And just focus on what you focus on. Right. You got to be able to see the larger picture, because our children have to, integrate with children in the community. Right. Your children got to walk to the corner store that's in the community. So we have to have interests outside of the walls of our church, mosque, temple, block, neighborhood, section, ward, or whatever. The city has to be an interest, because it all is relative in what it do and how it impacts us all. So, I thought about it and said, man, this would give me an opportunity to serve the community outside of those who are not Muslim per se, in that sense. What I mean? To be able to serve people who just looking for having just looking for great things to happen in our city. They want their children educated well, and want the city to run well. And I'm thankful for that opportunity.
That's what's up. This guy is just as busy as you are.
No, he's busier.
He's busier.
Because here's the difference between him and I. He got to be up there for photo out. Like, he got to make sure he's on time. Like today, I pulled a little diva moment. Like, I was a little late. You know what I mean? Because that's the woman in me, right? Yes. But he shows up like he's there and he's there and he's here and he's there. Like, you'll see a picture, like they'll post, and it'd be like 5 events in one day.
And he hit all of them.
He hit all of them.
He hit all the pictures.
Yes, man.
He hit all the pictures. Yeah. Now, where do you think that passion came from? For just to serve, to serve the community.
Outside, and I know part of and my sister was Muslim, and she passed on. But I know part of the religion requires you to serve.
Get out and serve, correct? So, and that's what it is. Yeah. That's the whole core of it. But my fathers and that group of men, and the group of men that molded and shaped it. You and I was talking before we aired about things that we're doing now. They didn't come out of a void. Right. Things don't happen out of a void. There's a cause and effect, and a cause. And being around impactful men and women who were servants in the community, they are people who gave back. Whether they were coaching football without any pay. But impacting our lives. People don't know when I played for Centerville, and it's interesting how I got to Centerville. Because at that time, because especially in my neighborhood at Parkside, they say Parkside, that neighborhood was a little hossy. I don't want the words that they was using, but I don't misuse others' words. Right. But for some reason, everybody in our neighborhood played for Whitman Park. It was right there.
Yeah, it's right there.
Within our walking distance. And I remember first time I came to Whitman Park, and Coach Frank Philippe looked at me, and they knew me from my brother. And he looked at me and said, "Man, you too small, man. You can't play," because I was about 96 pounds. But everybody I played with every day and playing street football were guys that were 110, and Whitman Park started at 110. So he looked at me and said, "Man, you too small." And me and my friends laughed at me. So I had to, that's how I got to Centerville. Okay. And I remember my father taking me to Centerville. Because I was small, but I was good enough to play with 110.
Gotcha.
So when I played at Centerville, I played 98 pounds with Coach Pat. And that was an experience, because Coach Pat was a man's man.
He was a giant. We were talking about that earlier when I was saying
he was a man's man.
I thought he was a real life giant. Like, Like, this guy's a real giant.
Yes, and the impact of that. And then at the same time, I played 110 because I was good enough to play with the 110.
Gotcha.
So I practiced at the Pink Elephant, what they call the Pink Elephant then. And then I would have to leave the Pink Elephant and walk over to over there by the Ebony's on the other side of the tracks. It's right next to the Ebony's.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Right there.
And I used to have to walk there and then could practice with the 110s.
Okay.
And then had to walk home. So you talking what, 78, 79, I'm 9 years old, I'm living in Parkside.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know, and it's interesting. I love telling this story, for good reasons, just to know where we came from and where we come at. Walking back from Centerville, because my father only drove me there one time. The parents wasn't.
Nah, yeah.
The parents didn't have the day.
You hear that, kids? You're spoiled these days. Coach Bird is saying it. You are spoiled. We had to get to where we had to get to, how we got there.
And you need to be on time.
And you had to be on time, right?
Coach Pat and Coach DeMary and them didn't want to hear that. Coach Bird didn't want to hear none of that stuff. You were talking.
Practice starts at this time.
Yes,
better be at this field at that time.
And at that time, this was the late 70s. I couldn't walk through Whitman Park. My father said, "Don't walk through Whitman Park."
Okay.
I had to walk all the way down. If you know the geography of leaving this Pink Elephant in that section,
right?
Of when we coached at where the Ebony's was at on Broadway, the Ebony's Bar, for people don't know,
right.
Bar called the Ebony's, named after the soul group, the Ebony's. And I had the ideal thing would be to walk down Carmilla, walk through, cut
right
through Whitman Park,
right there.
come up under the underpath at Whitman Avenue, right there. I'm right there on Euclid Avenue, where I can get to my house on Park Boulevard. Growing up on Park Boulevard, 1971 Park Boulevard, across the street from the football field. But the racial tension didn't allow that at the time. So I had to walk all the way down Mount Ethan Avenue and make a right on Kane Avenue and then come around and go to Hatton Avenue, come back that way through Parkside and stop at Church's Chicken, and there where the donut queen is at now, and all that. And it was interesting because, just the maturity and to tell you the difference of Camden, what I'm 8, 9, 10, I don't know how 11, 70, about 9, 10.
Right.
And, to be able to walk home, because to walk down Mount Ethan Avenue, and my father said, you just don't walk through Whitman Park. And some nights, I'm going to walk through. I don't care. And every time I did, I got chased outside of Whitman Park. So I knew then. So just keep walking. If I didn't feel like I was coming from practice tired, I don't walk through Whitman Park. If I felt like the energy and the adrenaline, then I would walk down that way. But, it tells you the the long way we've come, and our city and the impact that we have to continue to make in certain areas and bringing certain areas up. And so that's how I got playing. And some nights, Coach DeMary would take me home because he lived in Parkside
right there,
but you could wait. He wanted to walk. You know what I mean? You had to earn that, get in his car. But some nights he would pack us all that station wagon he had. We jump in that station wagon. He'd drop us off at his house. It was a shorter walk some of the times there. So and that's why with Santiago and all them guys, man, David Wagner played on 110, Day and all those guys, man. We had some great times, man. It was great molding and shaping of us as a community. And Camden is a special town where we all have the privilege. We know each other. And even if we disagree and knock heads, that season gonna turn around. It's gonna come back around like a family. That family, that Camden spirit, those seasons turns around, and we all starting to work together because everybody, regardless to our ideology, our philosophy, our political affiliation, the love for Camden is there. As long as that love is there, and that's the permeating factor for me. As long as I see somebody's heart is in the right direction, all the other stuff we gonna work out.
Right. True. Somebody really needs to do a documentary on the Simbas.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Because that's just, that's how I know everybody throughout the city, because then you had to play at Centerville or you could play at Whitman Park.
Correct,
most people played at Centerville. You know what I'm saying? So I know everybody from all over the city because they all had to come to Centerville to play.
That's
you know
correct.
what I'm saying? So that's huge. That's very the word of the day, impactful. Impact. You know what I'm saying? Centerville has impacted a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the city of Camden. That's what's up. Now, like Tracy was saying earlier, you know what I'm saying? We see you in every picture that's posted. You know what I'm saying? Doing some work. You know what I mean? How is it running around with our good buddy, the mayor, Vic Starford? You know what I'm saying?
That is such a privilege, you know, because knowing him since childhood, man, to knowing the heart. And people, I know everybody can say that they know the heart that Mayor Starford have, you know, the kind of brother that he is. He's always been that kind of person. People love him. You know, they love him. You know, and he's always been that kind of person and impactful. So that's a privileged opportunity to work alongside Mayor Starford and helping to impact the city, because he's a get out there and get with the people. And I think the reason why we see a lot of things turning with the people and everybody working together, because there was other things that had to be done in the past that may not have been so popular, but it was things, foundational things, because you all know in leadership, sometimes you got to make unpopular decisions, and they don't always be popular, And now that we are in this space that now we got to bring decisions are made. Now we have to bring the community together. I think Mayor Starford is that right person for the season, because that's who he is, a point guard at nature. A caring person, the person that he is. And, you know, he's quick learner. You know, watching him come in, you know, because, you know, the things we do aesthetically and athletics is what's there intellectually. You know, we have an intellectual conversation. Those things are there, you know. And him not being what we would like to say a lifelong politician or you know, servant leader in that capacity, because he was leading his capacity in business and also in coaching and everything, you know, everything that he was doing. But he didn't have those. He was the right person for the right time. That those different things that people may have had in politics and making decisions that people not agree with. That sometimes we roll our eyes at each other and don't get along, but we'll come back together, because that impact that all of us have history together in Camden. We have that history, and it's gonna come around. I promise you, it's gonna come around, because especially when love is the permeating factor of it. You know what I mean? Because love find a way. Sometimes in love you have to separate and then come back later. You know what I mean? Then you appreciate each other later better. You know what I'm saying? That's what love does. It don't change because it's politics, as long as it's in the right form and it's on the right reason. And him not being that career, quote unquote, politician is making everybody feel a part of. They can't say that. They can't make that excuse. Well, I don't.
I think also too, as a resident, he listens, right? I think before in the past we felt like our leaders heard us, but they didn't listen. And I really see the difference.
That's a great point.
And because he's youthful, you know what I mean, and he comes from a great family foundation, right? So I think he listens, and I think that's the difference this time around.
Correct.
And I think it's bringing the community, giving them their power back.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I just
great point,
and I see it. I see it. I feel it. And it's moving. It's moving. You know, we come from a society where we want microwave results, right?
Correct.
So we all know that it didn't take 30 seconds to damage Camden.
Right.
Correct.
So it's not going to take a minute and 15
to
get
it back together. So I know sometimes people think things aren't moving as fast as they would like, but I do see them moving.
Yes.
So, you know, and I just think it's because he listens. And, you know, I respect him for that. You know,
Definitely. And Vic, I know you're going to watch this. You know what I'm saying? Your boy over here, you know what I mean? He relayed your message. So just, you don't want me. I was about to send somebody after you. You don't want that, Vic. Come on now. That's my guy.
Yes,
that's my guy. He's doing a great job. I'm definitly proud of him. You know what I'm saying?
And it's a great time that, you know, we can be proud of all the work that everybody's doing. He's inclusive. It's a great point that you made, Sister Tracy, about that inclusivity that he brings apart. And the people that know me, and it's been my relationship with him and Denny and those guys for years. is the fact that I'm there because I somebody got to watch. As the
That
scriptures say, while some praying, some watch.
Right.
Brother minister is there watching.
Gotcha.
And
Everybody needs a big brother, though. Everybody needs.
I'm there
needs a
watching
big brother.
and just watching and just looking to make sure my brother's back is covered, because I know how sometimes and how hideous in that position that he's in can be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And somebody got to watch.
You're right.
You got to have somebody
Make
that
sure
you trust that's watching, that's not trying to be the mayor or something. It's just concerned about him in the city.
Right. Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And to be able to serve. And before I go any further, I want to thank the wonderful brothers and sisters that I'm able to serve with on the Advisory School Board of Education. Some great young leadership is there, starting with Vice President Brother Namdi Nelson. He's a special.
He's a friend of the show. Friend of the show. Special brother with a beautiful heart and great integrity, and that's what has drawn me closer to him in this work, someone I didn't know until we got closer in this work, and I see the impact and the kind of person that he is. And then when I met his parents, I fell even more in love with the brother because his parents is that you can see it, that old Camden spirit, and that they put that in him. And just because, you talked about Tracy going to Catholic school, and I was just at an event the other day when they were honoring Mayor Dana Red and the impact that the Catholic institutions in our city had on individuals and what they do, while we in traditional public education has been trying to get it together because there are many reasons that impacted that. That did that in that capacity, but we working on it. We got to bring all these school types together, but the impact that the Catholic institutions and education was making on a lot of people. I just seen some of you all were different. In Groping Parkside, we were like, what word can I use without being rude? We were the only few in that area in Parkside where I grew up that went to traditional public schools. So they kind of looked at us like, what's wrong with you? It's crazy because I was telling
everybody
people
else did, but Karen and I was that. But one thing I have to say is that regardless if they all went to traditional, or to parochial schools or private schools, that at Camden High School, everybody came back.
Right.
And that came to Variety. That came to high school.
Yeah, we all roads lead back to the high. And it's crazy because someone asked me, because 2 kids that go to Cooper's Point, and shout out to their parents, got this scholarship to go to Morristown Friends. So somebody, educator, was like, oh, do they do that often? I said, oh, no. People from Camden have been going to Morristown Friends for a long time.
That's true.
I said, a girl I grew up with was really close to. Her name is Dionne Cosby. She's a niece, a great niece to Dr. Charles Brim. She went to Morristown Friends along with 3 other children from Parkside.
Correct.
They caught the bus at Church's Chicken to go to Morristown Friends. I said, so this didn't just start. This has been going. We have young people that go to Morristown Friends every year. Like this is, and then they, most of the Parkside, Camden Catholic, and then, but all of us ended up back at Camden High School.
Back at Camden High School.
The Hispanics, the blacks, we had,
everybody came back.
We had 1 or 2 white people. We all just ended up back at Camden High. Everybody.
And shout out to fellow 88er. Coach over at Eastside High School, then Woodrow Wilson, Coach Smothers. Shout out to Brother Smothers, class 88 too as well, who was also out there in Arizona during the time, but I had just left Arizona, went to New Mexico. But nevertheless, Coach Smothers lived right there on Greenwood Avenue.
Right there.
My backyard was his backyard. But on Greenwood, Coach Smothers and them was there, so Coach Smothers was there recruiting too. Right. Encouraging.
Persuading.
Coach told him, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. It was great conversations, man. Great things.
Shout out to Big Bill. Big Bill's out. He's out in the Bay Area.
Definitely. I think he retired. Didn't he retire a couple years ago?
Yeah.
He was
a sheriff. He was a sheriff out there.
Yeah, that's definitely what's up. Let's before we wrap this thing up, let's get into the what we want to say, the entertainment field. It's funny because I watched the show. Speaking of Vic, I watched when you had the Wasim Muhammad show. You know what I'm saying, on YouTube. It's still there. You can go check it out. When you had Vic on the show.
Yes.
You had Vic on the show. That was I watched that episode the other day and whatnot. What made you start that show when you started it?
Well, I was impacted by a group that I work with out of Chicago. They are the National Archives of the Nation of Islam, called CROW, the Coalition for the Remembrance of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But they also are the they also are TV and entertainment part of it too as well. They've been doing television and radio in Chicago, and now that it streams live, is able to stream around the world and in the country. The impact that they're making on preserving the history of the Nation of Islam there in Chicago, with that impact that he was making in the lively art of conversation, that you all see, that the impact you making in conversation that you have, and that that can just change sometimes people's perspective and views and views when you have the lively art of conversation, because you watching something, you say, I never
right.
You know what I'm saying?
True,
and unless you're having a conversation, and it seems to pick up more steam now. So I wanted to have that because I think through the lively art of conversation, you can educate people and things that they need to know. It's a ministry. That's why I commend you all for what you're doing, because you're giving out information, and that's a ministry. And a ministry is information and inspiration.
Gotcha.
That's a ministry. I don't care what you call it. All of us in the ministry, administering to people. It don't matter. You may not have the cloth on. But you are in the ministry, and something coaches, leaders, teachers is the ministry, and that's all it is. So that's what inspired me to do that. I wanted to do that, and communication was my minor in college, so I always was, about conversation and like great conversation.
Gotcha.
And you are a very, very, very eloquent speaker.
Yes,
I agree. To a lot. Thank you. Yes,
I definitely agree there.
Yeah.
Any plans on bringing that back?
Well,
because I know you got we're going to talk about. I know you got the radio program that you do now.
I think what the pandemic, along with them changing Camden High School in the studio, which they haven't put up yet.
Okay.
And then 1 year, I think before the pandemic, based on the rules of in voting and different things like that, being a candidate, since we was at that a year prior to that, I could not do anything extra because it was sponsored by that, so distracted things to for equality and things like. So we kind of stepped back, and that's why I stopped that. And now we have the opportunity to bring it back. They're still learning the kinks of moving from one place with modern technology. You know how technology is, so it's taking a little longer.
I have a quick question for you.
I got you.
So there was a studio at one point in Forest Hill. That's not there anymore?
Next to Forest Hill. Yeah, no, it's not.
Remember, it was one inside of Forest Hill.
It was.
Right? And then they moved it across the ECDC.
On the other side of ECDC, the studio's still there. But the studio had closed when they were 5 years ago rebuilding Camden High School, because the athletes were using it as their weight room.
Yep, that's right.
What I mean? So it had to be used, swing space as a weight room, and so the studio was closed, and that's why you didn't see the shows there, and then things slowed down. And now Channel 2, hopefully it's going to get back on Channel 2, get back up. But they're learning the new technology in the new building with the new things.
Because in our day and age, that's how you knew what was going on in school.
Correct.
Yeah.
You turn on the cable box when you click, you put the channel 2 in there. You seen the games.
Yeah,
you
the games on and everything.
You used to get up in the morning to wait till you gotta wait till your school closed. You gotta turn on Channel 2 here, school closed.
That's why we can't wait, because it is a sense of information and urgency, not only for the Board of Education, but for the city.
Yeah, for the city.
People looked at our seniors and parents that had that information zone.
Definitely. And speaking of the school closing, you took me back right there. Remember listening to the radio, and they'd be like 6'11", 6'12", 6'13", but they would always skip us. 6'13", 6'15", like
exactly. Them snow days.
We're not, and then you listen to it again, like maybe they said 6'14", I didn't hear.
It's so crazy that we still remember the number.
6'14". 6'14".
Yeah, when you mentioned snow, I know we quick on time.
It's all good.
I just want to, I go back to think, because I get chided a little bit by my fellow Camden High basketball Panthers for a story of how I got to play varsity basketball as a freshman at Camden High School coming out of Hatch. I was a point guard, little small guy, and I was a little quick, and I like to think I was a little impactful on the court. But my freshman year, I was, I believe, the second freshman to play varsity, coming behind Kevin Walls. And that year, was the great Dunbar, my 8th grade year when Camden High with Billy Thompson and Kev Walls and played Muggsy Bogues.
And all of them. Yep,
So Muggsy Bogues was like that guy, and I got a chance to tell him this story because my roommate at New Mexico, my first semester there, I only stayed because I was married. I stayed one semester, changing families. I didn't bring my family in. I wanted to make sure it was a safe space to bring my family in. And my roommate had formerly played with Muggsy Bogues at Wake Forest before he came to New Mexico. The great Charlie Thomas. Shout out to him. He's also from Baltimore, right outside Baltimore, Maryland. He was a fellow East Coast guy. And so that year, the guards struggled a little bit playing against Muggsy, and I was a ball handler, and they said, all right, I got an opportunity. And that's why I was looked at so much by Coach Turner and them, because I was a ball handler, and that guy, and I was planning on going up against Muggsy Bogues that year as a freshman. And we were supposed to, they came to Camden High School in 82 and beat us, and we was going to 83 my freshman year. We were going to the Cap Center where the Bulls were, not the Bulls, the Bullets at the time. I can't think of the name. The Capitals, I think they are.
The
Wizards.
The Wizards.
Yeah, the Wizards now.
The Wizards.
They where they formerly played at, we were going to play a high school game before that, because at that time we used to play before the NBA teams. And so all week, I was on the varsity team, and I didn't play that much. I was playing more JV. It was just preparing me. But that week I was in rotation. I was like ready to go. I'm going to go up against the Cap Center. I'm going to play. And if you remember that great storm of 1983, you talked the snow.
I remember the big one.
I was 13.
I remember the big one.
Well, they said then I should have got into the ministry, because that was divine intervention, they say. The guys chided me there, because they said as a freshman, which Muggsy was a senior, and a McDonald All-American, they said he would have took my confidence.
He might have.
And I never made it to nothing.
You're right.
So they said that was my first divine intervention in the ministry, was in 1983. Those guys, they really shied me on that.
You might have been like, you know what, Coach, sorry.
Listen,
this is not for me.
The basketball gods bless you that day.
We'll try something else. Play some baseball or something.
The basketball guys said, let's help the young fella out. Let's help him out.
We like his confidence, so let's help him keep his confidence.
They said he would have destroyed my confidence as a freshman.
That might have been the end of that career.
That might, you would have had more than your hands full with that one.
That was a great team that year. It was a great team.
Definitely. Now, before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about the radio show, Muhammad Speaks Radio.
Yes, sir.
I believe it drop. You do it every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern on WTMR or WTMR 800 on the AM dial in the Delaware Valley. You also can stream live on WTMRradio.com, and we're going into our 15th season on that. The consistency, that's how I know great things come out of consistency, because a lot of people listen on radio, and then we also on Facebook Live and and iHeart and TuneIn, and it's going great. An opportunity for people to hear and to bring things together. In religion, quote unquote, we have more similarities than we have differences, and that's our aim and purpose. One is to introduce the world to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a man who was really misunderstood and misrepresented, and then also to bring everything closer together. That everybody can be comfortable in their own skin. Let's settle on the best part. Let's agree what we can agree on, but it's about our community. And when someone is dying or getting shot in the community, I don't think they're asking you, Christian. You listen that. If something is not going well, I don't think those questions are being asked. When opposition from outside of our community, they don't ask what we are. They look at our socioeconomic status and who we are and the color of our skin. So they don't care about that. So we got to work together, and it's a Christian broadcast radio station, and I'm fortunate to be on there to speak my truth and to speak what it is that we can bring to the table as followers of Honorable Elijah.
I catch it from time to time, and you do a great job with that. You know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all tune into that as well. You know what I'm saying? The BYRDCAGE on Monday, Muhammad Speaks Radio on Tuesday.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? I got you. Don't worry. Listen, I got your viewing for the week. I got your viewing schedule for the week. You know what I'm saying? Won't you let the folk know where they can find you at?
You can. If you want to learn know more about Temple Number 20, you go to temple20.org. And also you can catch WTMR so on Muhammad Speaks Radio. You can go to Facebook Live and follow us on those streaming channels. You also go to crowtv.org to follow the National Archives of the Nation of Islam and great streaming shows that they have too every Wednesday in political and aspect and things like that. It's not just a religious show. We try to bring information to the community and inspiration to the community and to share, our thoughts and our ideas.
Right. Nice. And what is it? Brother Wasim Muhammad on Instagram? Is it the whole
Brother Wasim, Brother Minister Wasim?
I can't remember.
Instagram.
I'll have it up there. Don't worry. I'll have it up there.
One of those things on Instagrams.
Right.
And
so clearly you didn't set up that account.
No, absolutely not. Not on Instagram. I'm more familiar. It seems just as soon as I start getting familiar and understanding this technology, they come up with something else.
Yeah,
I'm still learning how to make a reel. I haven't even learned how to make a reel on Instagram yet. And every week I say I'm gonna sit down and try it, and then I'm like, no, because my kids might say it came across a little not good. So
I still have an Android, and my children get to me all the time.
Yeah, you do.
About that, they said you got to get an Apple. Dad, what are you doing?
I'm with you. I'm with your kids on this one. You know what I'm saying?
My first Apple product, my first Apple phone was purchased for Mother's Day.
Yeah, so
2012.
So you understand.
My son bought it.
Probably your family made you do it, right?
No, my son. My son said that I was in the family chat green.
Right,
and
yeah,
they
I
was
was just going to say that.
Yeah, they
I
said
was
they
just
were
going
tired
to
of
say
it.
that.
I got it for Mother's Day 2012.
That's how I knew you had the
So
Android.
I'm 11 years in.
That's how I knew you had the Android. I'm looking at this green.
I got you, exactly.
So, kid, Father's Day, nice gift, Father's Day.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yes.
Future plans, what you thinking?
Well, just to continue to serve, the people in Camden. Also, I'm thankful and grateful to have a community development project that we're working on down Haddon Avenue, hoping to impact where we live at, the development that's going to go on inside, as Mayor Kostoffer like to say, inside the belly of Camden. We're seeing the impact that's what's going on.
I seen
downtown.
those plans.
Yeah, and we tried, and we're trying to do our best and getting things together now. It's going to be done in phases. We're on our first phase now. Opening up a bookstore and coffee shop next to the temple, and a television, a radio studio.
Oh, nice.
Right there, and the first phase of the project, and we're looking to just impact our neighborhood. As a community, as watching. OEO and others do it before us, and watching others in the city impact us and what they were doing, the impact they was making not only in Camden City but the county, and it's just amazing to to follow in those footsteps of great people that did great things. You talk about OEO, you also got to talk about Poppy Sharp and them with I can't think of the Respond and those guys and BPUM and all those guys what they made over the years. Shout out to Attorney Harvey Johnson and those guys and the late great mayor of Camden, first African American mayor, black mayor Randy Promise and those guys, and knowing that history of the impact they all made together and moving, helping to settle that people in Camden and people that look like you and I can make an impact in Camden City in so many other ways, not just in sports, but in everyday life that all of us here on this platform are continuing to do. And I want to say how proud I am of you all.
Appreciate
what you're doing, Coach Bird, and being an educator, and you've been a former police officer and still working in education and working with our young people to impact your children, Sister Tracy, are making in the community, and the great work you did and working with young men and impacting them. That's just unheard of, and that you do, because you've always been, one thing, you love Camden. As we know that. And you're going to let us all know whether we agree or disagree. We're going to hear Sister Tracy's passion and her love for Camden. And all that is needed, because we can't fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, true. Very
and get
true.
comfortable in our positions. We have to have that little nudge all the time to say, come on now.
Come on, let's get it.
Come on, and be able to be the conscious of space that we're not in. And that's healthy. And as I close in saying this, the only thing I don't I try to discourage people away is the personal attacks that we make with each other. There's enough of ideology, philosophy, politics and things that varies, but long as our root is love, but the personal attacks on individuals and people is just not good, because it don't do anyone well. Everybody deserves a second chance. I know that's why I'm at the mosque and temple every Sunday, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? I know I'm looking for another chance. You know, when we open our eyes, we give praise and thanks to the Lord for another day and for another chance that we can get it right while we're here. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. And that nudge to each other to say, come on, let's get it right. That's the conscience. That prayer going to be answered by an individual coming up to you, either with the answer to your prayer or a nudge to your prayer that we all praying for, and we love it. And keep being who you are, Sister Tracy, and keep doing what you do and what you bring. And you know, and shout out to my man Orlando Pettigrew.
Oh yeah.
You know that
big bro.
you talking about that Centerville impact and the little rookie impact when he was the quarterback at Camden High, and I'm there every day because I happened to grow up across the street from the football field.
That's right.
So that whole Camden High School mantra of the Art Still and Derek Ramsey being young and being that water boy and all that, Darryl Lee and those guys and Orlando and Martin Sarton and all those guys that I got to see every day. You know, people don't understand. Even if they were older than me, I got to see these guys every day. And just the impact of being around that every day, and the band practicing over at the field and so much, the track team and the tennis team. That was an amazing time to grow up in Camden, and you know, we got too much is given, much is required.
Yeah, definitely. Any shout outs, anything before we get out of here?
I just want to appreciate the opportunity to represent Temple number 20 in Camden, and shout out to some great. If I'm missing someone, please charge it to my head, not to my heart. You know, the great Henson family legacy and what they do, Chad and those guys. Well, Chad was 89. What you guys, right? Yeah.
Absolutely not. He was 90.
She said absolutely not. Like, don't try to give us people.
And that's the Camden spirit. We all can see. And we, you know, and that family and the impact that Mayor Red and all those who pulled me out of the walls of the temple said, come on, we got other things to do. You know, that you can give your impact to. I'm thankful for that. And to see Mayor Karstoffen, man, what he's doing with the city and the impact that he's making, and to be there and to see that, man, means everything. You know, it's the Karstoffen family in Camden, man, and so many people that helped raise us from that family and what I'm doing, the Alameen family, and so many great people, Brother Shaheed, you know, as they would say, the worst ref in the world. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's a picture I have in the temple right now that your father gave me.
Okay.
From the Urban Women's Center, where our mosque used to be at when I was a child at 910 Broadway. Okay. And I have a picture right now of the outside of the mosque, because that was the space where the mosque was at on Broadway. And I was a kid, and that's how I know all the, as we call it, downtown. Now, I don't know what they call that section of Camden now. We're giving these new names, but we know it is downtown.
We know the downtown.
But nevertheless, you know, I you know, that impact of playing for Centerville. I could be out Centerville with the Centerville guys. I could be downtown because the mosque when I was a kid was downtown, and just the overall impact of the city. You know, where we were at, man, it was just a great time to be born and raised in Camden.
That's what's up. I definitely both you guys, you know what I'm saying? You two guys, y'all ride for Camden all day, every day. I mean, I do as well, but you still live in the city and all the things y'all do for the city and everything. I greatly appreciate it, you know what I'm saying? Because especially my mom and dad still in Centerville or Liberty Park, whatever you want to call it, still there. So that's great, you know what I'm saying? And I just appreciate the job that we all do. I'm gonna include myself in here. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to do what people like my dad and Lenny Hall and the things that they did for us, trying to show us how to do what, you know, they were doing for us, and that we're doing it for others now. You know what I'm saying? And we need more, you know what I'm saying? We can always use more, you know what I'm saying? But I think we're doing a great job. You know what I'm saying? Bowling, don't forget, speaking of Orlando, Bowling with a Purpose every Sunday. It starts at 10:30. You know what I'm saying? Come on out. Me and cousin Tracy, we've been getting our bowl on the last because we've improving.
Yes, well, that's what I was telling everybody. You said every week we're going to do better.
You know what I'm saying? We're getting better. So, you know, we're still barely cracking 100, but we're cracking it. You know what I'm saying? We're definitely cracking it. So come on out. Is that what's that, Westbrook?
Yes,
right? Westbrook Lanes. Great price, $12.50 for practice time and 3 games. So, and it's for a good cause, you know what I'm saying? So come on out and check that out. Cuz, what you got, cuz?
So we talked a lot today about service. I was going to talk about the hashtag. So if you go into the graveyard, you have a day you're born and you have a day that you leave here. The thing that matters is that hashtag, the impact that you have in that hashtag. So as we talked today, and Minister Wasim talked about serving and all of that, it brought to mind to me about make the most that you can, first and foremost, with the grace of God. Continue to ask for grace and mercy, because we all need a little grace, because no one's perfect. Just make the best that you can out of that hashtag. That dash between the day you're born and the day the Lord decides to call you home. Just make sure that that dash is impactful in any way you can. And just know at the end of the day, you can only be you, unapologetically and authentically you. And the only thing you can control is how you react when people mishandle you.
That's true.
So we're just going to leave that with that. Just be impactful in whatever it is.
Definitely. Well, what's that?
95.
95. Yeah, we're getting closer to that 100. You know what I'm saying? Episode 95. You know what I'm saying? Again, man, thank you.
Oh man, this is my pleasure.
We appreciate this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying, and just like we were saying, we know you got that busy schedule, but thank you for fitting us in there. We definitely appreciate it,
anytime
man.
For you guys.
Definitely appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Behind this too as well.
Definitely. So, episode 95 in the books. You know what I'm saying? This is the lovely cousin Tracy. You know what I'm saying? And once again, I am Sechuayo, aka Coach Bird. I'm the host of the BYRDCAGE Show, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
It was a stone groove, my man.